Welcome to the Wally Show Aftercast. All the stuff we did not get to during the course of the show today. Going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to let Betty Rock go first because I don't want her checking out for the first 20 minutes during my thing. And then she always says, well, you do something heavy and then it goes into my thing and it's harder. So we're going to start with you today. So what do you got, Rock?
Wonderful. There is a couple in Orlando, Florida that they are suing their own, they're suing an IVF fertility clinic that's over there called IVF Life. Their Caucasian couple thought that they were going to have one of their embryos that had been frozen, birthed the baby, and the baby is not Caucasian.
Very interesting.
Right. So they accuse the IVF fertility clinic of mixing up the embryos. They even did a genetic test on the baby, and it shares no genetic relationship with the mother or the father.
Oh, my gosh.
And what's so sad is that they said they've already, of course, created an intense bond with this child, but there's a possibility, like the reason that they're suing and they're trying to get all the paperwork together is because if the actual parents of this child wanted that baby, they could take that baby away from them. From these parents, even though they birthed the baby.
Yeah. They're not racist, by the way. No. Like, there's part of you that goes, like, I could see people going, what, you don't want this baby because it's inferior? You know,
it's a genetic, mishap.
Right.
Like, not the baby, but
the embryo was not theirs at all. And also, they're afraid that someone else may not realize that they're raising this couple's embryo.
Or theirs might not have ever been anywhere, and they just got this other couple's embryo, and so there's a couple that's missing out on their child.
But what if this couple whose baby was born to this Caucasian family, what if they were like, actually, we don't want to birth these embryos?
Yeah.
Then what?
Man.
Happens. I don't know.
See?
Now, I mean, you would be thinking, well, they must have used a fertility clinic that runs in the back of a van. That's actually not the case. It's a very prestigious one. Dr. McNichol was their doctor, and he's considered one of the best fertility specialists. He's won 6 Patient Choice Awards, 4 Compassionate Doctor recognitions, and he is a top 10 doctor ranking in Florida.
But he's dyslexic, and sometimes the numbers get all jumbled, you know?
But legitimately, though, that makes any mistake
I couldn't do that job.
I mean, again, though, like, it makes anything I do wrong in life or at work feel just a little bit better.
Because ultimately, this couple was under the impression that they were birthing their own baby. 9 months later, it's someone else's, so they gave birth to an adopted child.
She, in essence, was a surrogate mom for somebody else, you know?
Yeah.
This is where, again, science is great. Technology is great, but it's not perfect. And it introduces other moral issues with things or legal issues with things that it creates, you know, and that's why I'm not going to say, oh, don't go have IVF because you want a kid and it's just not God's plan for you. Like, I'm not that guy. But when you do, just know that there are worlds you could be stepping into that maybe you're not prepared for fully, you know?
I know, because I'm thinking who was responsible for getting that mixed up. And then I would think that person would be sued.
Yeah.
For which it could have been just an innocent
mix-up. Yeah, innocent mistake.
But
wrong thing typed in on the wrong line, and before you know it, you're in a sticky wicket.
It's crazy that it doesn't happen more often, I think.
I'm glad that the family wants to keep the baby, you know, like that's great. I think what they would have to do is figure out whose embryos those actually are. I mean, they have to track the place has to track it down and say, okay, here's what happened, y'all. What had happened was so they have to do that, and then that couple, boy, that's a decision, because a couple things with this. If it's your biological child that somebody else birthed, you won the lottery. Because if you get to take that baby back and did not have to give birth, or because IVF and in vitro, all that stuff doesn't always work. So you could have put that same embryo in you and had it not work. And so it's like you got the benefit of the kid without all the hard work and the shots and the problems, you know. And so you would be tempted to be like, this is my child. I want this back. But then you're destroying some other family that put in the work and actually had the kid
and has all the things, like they had the shower, they had the nursery maid,
because
like everything.
They could then go back and get their embryo and then have it not take either. I would say this, if that is the case, if this other family, takes their child back, that this medical clinic is like, hey, guess what? Free in vitro for life for you and even your kids, you know, like
there should be some type of test where it's like to double check everything before you go through the IVF, just to make sure.
Right.
The embryo is for sure DNA tested.
Yeah.
It is yours.
Well, isn't it when they do the I'm just now going back to like our pregnancy stuff though, like when you go in for any of the scans or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like when you do, or genetic testing is what I mean though.
But that's for like Down syndrome or something.
You're right.
And it's down the road.
Not for
it's down the road. It's not for
genealogy.
Yeah, good point.
It seems like, and obviously none of us are doctors here, but it seems like on the vial you could have a QR code. How crazy would it be if it was this simple? A QR code that links the DNA of the parents so that before they do it, they scan this, they scan the parents, and if the DNA doesn't match, then you're like, well, we got a problem. It's like the last chance problem of solver of that.
Well, I've told this story a little bit. I had a friend of mine that her and her husband went through IVF, and I didn't realize this until she had told me about it, but there is a whole process that comes after you've gotten the embryos. Like they can tell you whether they pull which ones are the healthy ones, and those are the ones they freeze. And then they can also tell you what the gender is of the child as well. So if you wanted to choose, if you wanted a boy or a girl first, you could do that. Sometimes you just tell them, I want the healthiest one, and then they surprise you, and you don't know. But also too, my friend and her husband had to put in a contract or whatever that if one of them died, what would happen to the embryos, and then if they divorced, what would happen to the embryos.
So
because if you don't put that into writing, then either spouse could have those embryos with another spouse.
And when you get down to it, it is an embryo, so it has been fertilized.
Right.
And so that is conception. Now, whether it's inside the body or outside the body, but it's like if you are a pro-life person, that even though it's frozen like a popsicle, it's still life, know, and it has the ability to grow into life. And so if you dispose of those, then theoretically you are disposing of life. And that's another real, like problematic thing with this.
Because you have to also put that in the contract about what you want to have happen to the embryos that you don't.
Can you donate them?
Yes, you can.
I think I would do that.
So but that means that you'll never know.
That's fine.
You might one day be in your 80s and all of a sudden someone knocks on your door and they're like, hey, I'm your kid.
Yeah.
And you're like, I have another kid.
I think I would rather have that than have the embryos destroyed. Like if they could go to help somebody. I look at it like being an organ donor. You know, like, okay, so my life is past in the sense that I'm never going to have kids again or whatever. But it's like if I could, and we just stop trying or what have you. And it's like if that could go to help somebody else out, great. And if I never know about it, because they go, oh, but you could have a kid running around, you don't know. But I'm not connected to that kid technically, you know, emotionally. And so if it came back to me and they're like, hey, guess what? I was an in vitro baby. I'd be like, oh, cool.
But what if you were the kid that was the baby that was born?
That's interesting.
And you were like, my real parents froze me.
Yeah.
Then gave me up and pretty much like gave me
up for
up
adoption
for adoption
in essence. Yeah. Boy.
Would that hurt your feelings?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Or would you feel like, well, they gave me life instead?
No, because I don't know.
It feels different if you're like a baby, okay, and you've been born, and then your parents gave you up for adoption. You'd be like, okay, you met me, you held me. Why did you give me up? Like I think I would have those questions. I'd want to know.
Yeah.
But if I'm an embryo that has no it's like heartbeat yet or anything like that, then I have it. To me, it's like, all right, you gave up something you weren't connected to. That's fine.
But that's the argument that a lot of like liberal agendas will use, though.
Right.
in correlation to
abortion.
to why they argue for abortion. Because
Correct.
obviously we can sit here and argue for pro-life stuff, but if we're willing to say, well, you were an embryo, like I hadn't really made a connection with you,
Right.
then
You could be supporting their
argument.
I think you could, whether you want to or not,
Right.
you could be supporting their
Well,
argument.
I'm not making that. I am not making that argument.
No, I know.
But yeah, I could see how it could be twisted into that.
And I understand, like, that's why that's the logic they use.
I'm still saying it's life.
Yes.
I'm still saying that you would be, eliminating a life in some form, It's just not as far along, which is a point they make. Well, it's not far along. It's a glob. It doesn't matter, which I don't think that. But in this case where the kid is alive, I would be if it were me, I wouldn't be angry at those people for donating the eggs because I see it like a donor type thing. I see that differently. But that's the inherent questions that come from all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. Speaking of freezing things. Ice.
Did you write that down?
No. Yes, okay. I did. Midway through that. So here's the deal. The Team USA hospitality venue at the Winter Olympics in Milan, even though it's not in the U.S., they have undergone a name change. It was previously called the Ice House, and now they're going to call it the Winter House because of all the problems politically here with what's going on in Minneapolis, especially. It's just I have resisted commenting online about this stuff, and because it just blows up, and then my only profiles are the show profiles and stuff, and so I think you have to be careful. And then I look at things too, and I go, well, what would I say in this? And then I look through the comments, and people are already representing that. I don't need to pile on per se, and only have something come back to bite me. But I do want to talk about this with you here as potties, because I think this is a conversation that we can have here. And there's parts of this conversation that really frustrate me on both sides of this issue. Like Billie Eilish was at the Grammys the other day and is like, no one is illegal on stolen ground. That's an argument they use. And then I saw people going, hey, that's great. I'm going to move into Billie Eilish's house. And you're like, yeah, you can. Yeah. Under that argument, I didn't steal your land. I'm not breaking any laws. There aren't any borders. I can move into your Malibu mansion, and there's nothing you can do about it. But what is she going to do? She's going to call cops right away, and she's going to have you arrested and taken away. That's what she is going to do without hesitation. But see, there are things we can kind of juxtapose with what is going on. I mean, honestly, you'll claim that these people broke the law, but according to you and your made-up rules, there is no law. There is no rule, It's very hypocritical. So I love the protesters, though, that are building barricades and making people prove that they are not affiliated with ICE. They're taking pictures of license tags and trying to run them through their own database that they're creating. And they're trying to keep people out who don't believe like they do. They're attacking other people that have a difference of opinion at these protests. And basically, they're creating borders, asking for papers of people, and then they are taking you, and they're basically, and most of them are wearing masks now, too. You're basically taking a playbook from ICE and the people that you're fighting against. You're doing the exact same thing. But you give yourself the moral high ground of we're protecting innocent people. And it's like, okay, let's discuss that. I believe in legal immigration, 100%. I think we should have people coming into this country, but I think we got to do it the right way. I would love to move to Europe. I can't just move to Europe. I got to legally go through the process to do it. And so I think that this is a difficult thing because what they do is they say, if you don't agree with just letting anybody stay and letting anybody do anything and you don't want people deported, if you don't agree with that, then you're a fascist. A, none of them know what fascist means. And B, they throw it around, and because it's that moral high ground and you try to argue it, and then they just scream fascist, fascist, fascist at you. It's like there's no dialogue going on. Inside of this issue, I think that there is a place for compassion on the side of the government and on the side of ICE as well, okay? You look at this. They have a tough job to do. They're being impeded by people who just I've randomly said, okay, well, we're not going to listen to anything you say, and we're going to prevent you from doing your job, which I think is wrong. But I think inside of the job that they're trying to do, it's murky because it's not black and white for every situation. And this is a case where the spirit of the law needs to be interpreted for different cases instead of just the zero tolerance letter of the law. I think that's hard.
Difficult to do when you've got hundreds of thousands or thousands of people that are literally trying to like kick your car and do these things that are abrasive to what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, and the theory is that, okay, we make the arrest and then the process then goes through all of this and does the spirit of the law, the letter of the law, and it's supposed to work itself out. But the process, I have a feeling, has some big flaws and holes in it as well, because the government always has problems with anything they try to mandate and do. So you've got two very different diametrically opposed positions colliding constantly in the streets, and neither one giving ground. Because the government can't give ground and say, oh, it's okay for you guys to do this. Because then the next time an issue comes up that you don't like, well, you just attack agents. You can do whatever you want. It's anarchy. You can't do that either. But then the other people feel like they're fighting for people's freedoms, you know? And so I get the passion, but I think the idea and the passion has been poorly executed on behalf of a lot of the protesters. Not all of them, obviously, but a lot of them, you know? And you're hurting your own argument. And I think the government could do better at seeing people versus policy. I think that would be, you know, a win for everybody in doing that. But the left is smart how they position themselves, you know, that if you don't share their beliefs, you know, without question, you are the problem. And that's very, very smart. I love this quote. I wish I had come up with it, but it says, conservatives hate your opinion. Liberals hate you for your opinion. The vitriol that liberals are saying right now when it comes to this, you know, you got celebrities, unfollow me, don't come to my shows, don't do this. People going, I hope President Trump dies. You know, it's like, okay, well, you didn't want that guy, that nurse killed, but you want President Trump killed. You can't have it both ways. You're either pro-life or you're not, you know, when it comes to these kind of things. And so you can't say, well, his death is worthwhile and his is not. Like, you're just as bad. Now, when you watch that footage, that was sad to me. So sad, because that cop, one of the cops the guy should not have brought his gun to the thing. That's a big mistake. Anytime you're going to go up against law enforcement, you can do it, but just know there are consequences. You are going to probably pay a price you are not willing to pay when you do that. And if you deem it worth it, have at it. Go for it. Like, knock yourself out. I'm not going to do it. I've never been arrested because I've always been respectful to cops, even if I disagreed with them. Even when they searched my car it was not a lawful search. I'm like, all right, yeah, I got nothing to hide. Okay, go ahead. You know? And so, you know, you could say, well, you're losing rights then. Sometimes you do. In a society that is not controlled like China, you will lose some of your rights at times in this society. It is just the way it goes. But the vitriol that they're putting, that one shooting was so bad to me in the sense that the guy had the gun. You watch I've seen all the videos on it, and the one cop clears the gun, so the gun is now out of play. But in that charged situation, people yell, gun, gun, gun. That's what happens. Like that, like in split second, life and death decisions are made, and in a volatile powder keg of a scenario, people are going to get hurt. Sometimes innocent people, sometimes people that, you know, wanted some trouble or wanted to have their voice heard. Sometimes when you go against the government like that, it happens. And I think that it really is, we're watching people devolve to an unhealthy place, and you have the leadership, the hypocrisies all through this are palpable. You've got the leadership of Minnesota with the governor and the mayor both spewing rhetoric about resisting. And again, it's the same thing they all accused Trump of doing on January 6th. Same exact thing. And actually even more direct and more antagonistic. And like, you're doing the same thing. You've become that which you hate. you're no better. You know, you've got to be better. All these people standing in Targets trying to, because Target was founded in Minneapolis, like they're in Target going, hey, Target, stand up and say something. Target's like, I'm an entity. I'm a business selling things to people. I don't have to get involved in this. Yes, you have to. No, I don't. And people should be allowed to either have a difference of opinion when it comes to immigration or have no opinion and not have to say, I have to get in. People go after businesses because they want to shame them and they want to force their hand to say, well, okay, I'm going to stand with you now because you have to justify your position. Your position is not enough on its own, and there's not enough of you. You have to force people into it because, like it or not, there's another half of the country that disagrees with you. You know, and that's where we're at in this world. We are split down the middle, and we're not moving any closer. We're only moving farther apart.
Well, I saw somebody, I think they posted it on their Instagram story at one point or another, a comment that said something like, if you don't engage, or if you say, I don't engage in political conversation, then that is an evil privilege that you have. And I'm 100% like, vote your mind.
Yeah.
That's a thing that we've earned as a country. But it's such a chaotic world. And yes, there is some black and white in there, but there's so much gray that I do understand not engaging in political conversation because how much are you going to be able to, A, convince or change someone's mind, or where are you going to land on the right opinion? Because someone else is going to, again, scream at you that you're wrong.
Oh, yeah. Let me you bring up a very good point at this, kind of what we're talking about, where they're like forcing Target to do something. They're Starbucks, McDonald's, all these places in Minneapolis especially are like, we don't serve ICE. And then they're destroying hotels where ICE agents are paying money to stay to that business. And they're like, well, you're affiliated with them and we're going to destroy you. Like, that is so wrong on so many levels. But the funniest part of this is a group that is very sympathetic to, say, LGBTQ. And they would never in a million years out somebody for being gay that wasn't ready to tell their story. They'd be like, no, that's your story. I cannot out you for this. But that's what they're doing to all these businesses. They're going, hey, you need to side with me. You need to speak up now. I'm forcing you to be in this narrative and in this story. Where they would never do that with someone's sexuality, but they're doing it with somebody's politics. And again, the hypocrisy inside of this is palpable and it's frustrating. And I've tried to not go crazy about it. I will yell at my phone, and I've been very calm in this reaction and stuff too. Oh, I know. There's times where I'm like, you got to be kidding me. But I'm trying to keep that vitriol off the air, or off the air, and off of socials. Because again, you're not changing anybody's mind. You're just furthering your position and furthering the hate and the divisiveness. And ultimately, there's parts of this that got where it felt like, ooh, we could have a little bit of, not a civil war. It's not going to be that spread, but definitely you've got brother against brother. You got Minnesotan against Minnesotan, you know, and that's where the Civil War started and where it got bloody and it got ugly. We didn't learn from that. We're still replicating that all these years later. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, I think is one of the saddest things, that we do not know how to have discourse without resulting or resorting to violence or shaming or degrading somebody. Like, if we could learn to just have discourse, we might be better off as society as well. So there you go. That is probably the only time we're going to talk about this, unless something else comes up really big. I don't think I have anything else really to add to that or to the conversation. But I appreciate you listening to the podcast. I appreciate you being a part of it. We love having you weigh in on things. And, birthdays, if you have one, this is a great time for one. I hope you don't have any.
That was your segue?
Yeah. I hope you don't have any today. Do you have any?
No.
Yes! All right. We can just wrap it up today with that. I should have asked you ahead of time if you had any birthdays, and because I was just going to wrap it up anyway. But then I'm like, I don't want to shortchange a birthday person. So, woo! Dodged a bullet there. All right. That's going to do it for your Aftercast. And as always, thanks for being a potty.